Welcome to HR Untangled, real HR talk for business owners. Today we're talking about performance management from probation through ongoing employment. So, if we talk briefly about what performance management really is.
So what's performance? Just leave that in. Well, it was interesting because the last podcast we did was obviously on high performing teams, so it's quite a good subject to move on to. I think that there's performance is it's an interesting phrase in terms of there's the can do and the won't do.
Mm-hmm.
So are people actually capable of doing it?
Yes.
Or can they just not do it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an important distinction.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about performance, there's it comes into capability and conduct.
Mm-hmm.
So capability can be challenged for lots of reasons. It could be a temporary problem of capability. It could be that they're actually just not capable of doing that. Conduct is obviously when somebody won't do something. They can do it, but they choose not to, or their behaviour is bad. And that's usually dealt with through disciplinary.
Yeah.
So I think that's always, when I do training actually on performance management, it's one of the important distinctions that I make. I think there's some interest. I usually give some examples of, if you've got a salesperson, for example, who can't meet or doesn't meet their sales target, is that capability or conduct? Well, it very much depends on the reasons for that.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
is it because they've had holiday and it's not reasonable for them to meet the target, or is it because they're not doing it or they can't do it? It's a challenge sometimes to distinguish between them. But that's for me an important part of deciding which process to follow, I guess.
And also as well, it's looking at what is good performance, what isn't performance, standards, and looking at indirect. Does everybody know what the standard is?
Yeah,
Is
the expectations.
Yeah.
Because that's sometimes not talked about, is it?
No.
It's not, people, and I guess you'll probably have this as well, Zoe, people say, oh, I've got such and such, they're 6 months into their probation, they've always been a bit rubbish. And I'm like, well, do they not actually know what's expected of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So setting the expectations is really key, but we're actually, I think generally speaking, we're not very good at that.
No.
We sort of just expect people to know what they're expected to do. So yeah.
And also like looking at the feedback given as well. Like how many times have we had managers say, I've got a problem with so and so, and we said, well, have you talked to them about the performance? And they're like, well, we've had a chat, and it's like, well, do they understand what is required?
Yeah, it moves into those honest conversations, doesn't it? When Scott and I were talking on the last podcast actually about giving feedback, that was one of the things really, was about being very honest about it. Because I think that people skirt around issues because it feels uncomfortable, and it's actually really difficult to say to somebody,
You're not performing.
You're not doing very
standard
well.
we're looking for.
Yeah, that's it. But I think it's okay to say that, and it's okay to be honest about it.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to somebody the other day about a very similar situation. And I said, well, what I would do is I would start the conversation by asking them how they think it's going.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that gives you an insight and they go, actually, I'm really struggling. And you go, oh, thank God, that opens the door for me to have a conversation.
Yeah.
There are times where people will say, oh, well, I think it's going really well. And that's the worst bit, because then you're going to say, well, actually, I don't agree.
Yeah.
And that's where people find it very difficult, I think. So... sorry, we're going completely into the
Yeah.
topic and we haven't even covered. Have we even covered what is performance or what is performance management?
So why don't we start with probation? Why don't we start with from day one?
Yeah.
Is that the time to set the expectations
Absolutely.
of what good performance looks like?
Yeah, but I think it probably starts before
I
that
was
as
gonna
well.
say before,
Yeah, because you've done quite a lot of recruiting lately, haven't you?
And I think setting it out in the job description, what is
Yes.
expected of them and what is required of them.
Yeah.
But then also you get, make sure the recruitment's done right, getting the right person for the role, and understanding that aspect of it as well.
Yeah, the right fit as well for the company,
Yeah.
because that can fall into almost loosely into performance. They've got to be able to work with the team. They've got to hold the same values and everybody pulling together, working for the same aim.
Yeah.
But I think probation, I mean, with the change of legislation, obviously, so anybody who's employed from the 1st of July this year, they can claim unfair dismissal after 6 months.
Yeah.
So actually, probation periods are so important now. And, doing, important that they're managed incredibly well, and probably right from the start. Funnily enough, I was talking to somebody this morning. I do a lot of talking to people, as you know. I have lots of conversations, but this morning I was talking to somebody who's got a new employee who's 3 weeks into employment, one that you'll know that you've supported. And actually, some of it's not going very well.
Yeah.
So, and he's like, what do I do about that? How long do I give it? Or, and I said, well, do they know what's expected? Are you being reasonable? Are you giving them all the training? Are you doing everything that we possibly can to give them the best chance of success?
And recording it all.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because most people don't. They just, I had a conversation with them. I think it was about a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
So,
but recording it to show that there's, you've had that discussion.
Yeah.
And that the training's been completed. And additional training or job shadowing or whatever has been agreed, coaching, mentoring, all of that has been recorded. So
I think it's about putting time aside. So, you're from day one, we're going to have a catch up at week one. It's time away from the job to discuss how it's going.
Yeah.
How many times your managers would just say at the desk, how are you getting on? Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Catch up next week kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's about having that time aside.
Yes.
I'm just thinking about when you first joined me, Zoe. I was like, it's all fine, just carry on. It's like, we're not terribly leading by example. I think you said to me something about 6 months in, are we going to have my probation review? And I was like, it's fine. You're doing really well. It's okay. I would have told you if there was a problem.
Good.
But location for these meetings as well is also important. So you've just said about...
time away.
Yeah, so you've just said about, standing at the desk and saying, it's all going well.
Yeah.
You're not giving somebody an opportunity to have a private conversation.
Yeah. And actually, because again, just using you as an example, one of the things that we've talked about very much is I've sort of asked you, how's everything going? But we don't always do that either, especially in probation. If you think about, we talked about, how good it is to set expectations for recruitment. But actually, when we welcome somebody in, the welcome is so important. So probably that first and second week are really important because that's your shop window of, stay with us, you'll do really well. And that we've got to give people the best chance of success. And again, if we don't get that right, that can cause problems actually with performance and being able to address it later down in the probation as well.
And I think as well, making evidence-based decisions. No, not relying on opinions or anything like that. It's
or somebody else's
or feelings.
Commentary. Or,
and I think this is going to be key, especially coming in with the 6 months. Coming in, you're going to have evidence to back up then decisions. So whether you're looking at targets, whether you're looking at data, whether you're looking at feedback. As well, getting a range of evidence that can support your decision.
It's really, 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 really right. Is that even a saying? Yeah, really, right. Yeah, that's really good, Zoe.
I think as well because the 2 years is being cut down to 6 months. We're going to have to have something to back up our decisions. If unfortunately we're going to extend or we're going to part ways, we're going to have something solid. In our kind of backing.
And I guess one of the things that can be introduced is a sort of a formal process as well. I would always recommend we haven't talked actually about length of probation because there's different theories on this. So I think if I look back in my HR career, I would say that 3 months has always been the norm or been the norm for a good number of years. But I would say probably in the last 3 to 4 years, 6 months is very widely used and nobody really argues with that now. So and I think that's really good. So for me, if you've got a 6 month probation period, it should be probably a check-in at the end of week 1, week 2, just to see how things are going, make sure they've got everything they need, their IT's working and all of that. And then end of month 1 would be a formal review, probably about month 3, and then probably about 5.5 towards the 6 month sign off. And again, it's it's not getting to that 6 month point and going, actually they've always been a bit rubbish. I just haven't had time to talk to them. So I mean, what do you think about those intervals? Have you seen anything different?
No, I think the norm what I've been working with is kind of the week 1 check in, and then maybe week 2, and then the month 3 months.
And I maybe wouldn't go to 5.5. I would maybe just go to 5 because what you don't want is to be in a position where you're telling somebody, you're giving them notice. Because they haven't improved and you're giving them notice and it's a complete surprise to them.
And actually that's a really good point about giving notice because with the 6 month window, you've got to take notice into account,
Yeah.
unless, of course, you enter employment immediately and pay in lieu of notice.
Yeah.
So that's, I suppose, a technical point for us to manage, isn't it, with people?
Yeah.
But being really careful. And I guess that if it's not working out by month 4, that's probably as long as you want to give it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I would only ever extend a probation if I could see that they're
Potential.
just about there, they just need a bit
Yeah.
more,
Yeah.
or just a couple of things that we're unsure
Yeah.
about.
But also, we should think about those employees with additional needs, so
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
neurodiverse, and how we understand their performance and the ways of working.
Yeah, so it's really knowing your team, isn't it, and getting to know them right from the start.
Yes.
Yeah, and how they
And learning how different ways of work for some people, and not just shoehorn them into this is how it's done.
Yeah. I worked with somebody recently actually who has ADHD, and one of the things that we've sort of known about or learned about the person is that what really helps them is knowing when a meeting's coming up and having an idea about what it's about.
Yeah.
So we did that in a meeting we had to have in the last few weeks, and it just worked so well for them, because I said, actually, I can come into it not trying to fill in all the blanks myself.
Yeah.
And also I've had a little bit of time to think and process it before you actually want to talk to me about it.
Yeah.
So it's a really key point, isn't it, about knowing your people and knowing what works well for them in terms of performance.
Yeah, it's about normalising different working styles nowadays compared to 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah. One of the things I think that we do see in probation as well is people maybe not getting on. Seen that as well in the last few days.
The dynamic.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think.
You can't plan ahead for that.
Well, you
No.
can't. No. You can get the best fit that you can, but
Yeah.
actually, until people start working together, you don't always know.
And I think that's really good having a 6 months period, because if you have a shorter probation period, not that people perform to that period, but
you can keep it up for a couple of months, can't you?
you can try and keep it up for a couple of
For
months.
6 months, you've
It's
got to
quite-
show your true colours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also
yeah.
it gives you a
Yeah.
chance to resolve it as well.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
So in terms of, I suppose, managing performance in probation, the key things are probably, making sure they've had training, making sure they know what's expected of them, making sure that we're giving them every support they needed, that two-way conversation as well.
Yeah.
And for me, one of the mistakes I see in probation is that people aren't honest about what the consequences might be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's almost like a bit of a myth. People won't ever say, if you don't do this, you might lose your job.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you don't want to say that as a threat. We
No.
never want to use that as a threat.
No.
But if it's a possibility,
Yeah.
it's only fair to tell
Yeah.
somebody that.
Yeah.
And that, for me, leads into performance management generally as well. You know, that it's okay to say to somebody, look, we
not the job
can't
for you.
tolerate this,
Yeah.
You know, if we will give you every support you need, but actually, there might
It's
be a point
welfare
where we
of
part
the
ways.
employee as well at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's not the environment for them, or it's not the job role for them. And sometimes you do have to be honest with them and say, this is not the role for you, unfortunately.
Yeah. One of the conversations I had with somebody the other day, again, I like to have lots of conversations, was about retirement. And we were talking about, it's a key point, because this really falls into performance management. And but you don't want to performance manage somebody who's approaching retirement or staying on after their sort of state retirement, if you like. But they said to me, what, can we make somebody retire? And I said, no, you can't. The Equality Act stops us doing that. Age discrimination, we can't discriminate against people because of their age. Certain industries you can if there's a particular reason, but in the main we can't. But actually, what do you do with somebody who's, say, I think this person was maybe 75, they don't want to work as many hours, they it's very stereotypical, but they're kind of like, they're not that interested in new systems, they really want to be doing something.
Does that not become a capability?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. It kind of falls into performance.
Yeah.
And it's really challenging because it doesn't feel right. It's like, it's like, my dad's 80. It's like performance managing my dad.
Yeah.
He won't be listening to this, so we're all right. Well, he might. He should.
Yes, he
He should listen to it, Dad. But it is. It's like, you respect your elders. And actually that's quite challenging. Because especially if they're nice and they kind of, just want a part-time job to keep, keep active, I guess. So.
But then if you don't deal with the situation, what does it become?
Yeah.
And the effect on the team.
I know.
And everything else.
It's really, it's one of the probably the bad things when the Equality Act came in. It's one of the things that becomes more tricky. But
it does.
on the other side of that, without getting into all the equality stuff, it is right though for some people to continue working.
Of course
You know, and they shouldn't be cut off at a certain age. That's not okay. So, because actually, just age is a number.
No, it is.
You know, you can think of people. I mean, like I say, my dad's 80. I mean, he retired many years ago now, but he's still very capable. But then I see some other 80-year-olds that are very different to that, and then some that are much fitter and still climbing hills and all the rest of it. You know, so
it's about treating everyone as individuals.
Absolutely, it is. It is. So I think it's right what the Equality Act did, but it does, you know, it does stick a little bit in performance management, or drops into that side. So
So what would you say the common pitfalls are for managers?
I would say, for me, it's everything we've talked about: not setting expectations, not being honest, not having the conversations at all,
not taking it seriously. And then knocking on HR's door. When they're fed up with a person because they can't do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. So that for me is it's everything we've talked about already. So I think if you think about sort of broader context of performance management, there's almost like the cycles, isn't there? So I think that when we talk about performance management, we always talk about, or we naturally think about bad performance. But I guess when we're managing performance, we're managing good performance as well. So we've got our regular reviews. It might be one-to-ones, it might be quarterly reviews, annual appraisals, however people do that performance cycle. And sometimes it's nice just to say thank you to somebody for good performance.
And to understand their aspirations for the future as well.
Absolutely,
If there's an opportunity for them to grow within the business. Or if there's an opportunity for them to become, say, an expert within a certain area of the business, you know, I don't know, say the HubSpot expert or something like that.
Nina. But it's that wants and desires. And actually, I met with a company recently, they employ electricians, and they said, actually, we want to use performance management, exactly that, as part of our retention strategy. You know, very competitive market for people. And what they said is, you know, we want to make sure that we're not missing any desires of people. We've got some good performers, but we want to know what is it they want to do. And they've used that actually as a retention strategy in those terms.
A lot of people do, don't they? And it's how they use the annual kind of appraisal. We've seen some companies that kind of gone away from the annual appraisal. Is it a tick box exercise? Or that more have regular one-to-ones throughout the year. And they monitor them goals and performance throughout the year.
And you probably see two extremes. You'll see some people who have very rigid key performance indicators, objectives. And then you have some people who just do a sort of a very narrative check-in. And there's not a right or wrong. It's whatever suits your organisation. But the important thing is to do it. Because actually there was a trend, must have been about maybe 10 years ago, there was a trend not to do appraisals and do like these, what do they call them? It was like a check-in. It wasn't check-in, but it was something along those lines, you know, and that kind of didn't really gather any momentum, probably because it wasn't going to work in the long term. So
I think as well, we do work with quite a lot of like small companies as well. And even though, you might only have 5 employees, it's still important to do these.
And that's where I suppose you become more informal as well. As long as you're having the conversations, yes, you want to document them, but we don't want to be too corporate about it. I can remember I worked for an American-owned company for a good number of years. And I worked actually with the American HR team on developing an appraisal system that would go across all the countries. We had, a business in France and, all over the place. And they had these, what we called the eggs.
Okay.
And it was, I think everybody in the senior team, it was quite a number of years ago, so I don't think anybody listening will be, if you know, you know. But they had these eggs, and it was the company values. And basically what they did is they put the eggs at the top and said that you have to fit something into each one. And they just weren't, we had people that were manufacturing operatives. They weren't. It just wasn't relevant. It was relevant to maybe some of the senior people, but it wasn't relevant to the majority of the workforce. And it was horrendous. So actually, I was part of a team who worked to, move on from that. So I hasten to add that it wasn't me. I wasn't involved in the eggs. I was more the egg smashing. So, but it was, you've got to have something that's fit for purpose and easily accessible. Again, working with people who maybe have been in the jobs a long time, perform really well, I still think it's the right thing to say thank you to them.
Yeah.
Say thanks, you've had a really good job. You've done a really good job in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Keep going. Anything you want to talk about for the next 12 months?
Yeah.
No, I'm happy doing my job. Happy days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it doesn't have to be a big deal, but actually it's okay to say
It's
thank
that
you.
meaningful, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And it might be the only time that person has a one-to-one with their supervisor or manager.
Yeah.
And
I think, if you think about the next generation of work coming through, they are a lot more looking at these meaningful conversations, aren't they? And think about the wellbeing support.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So there's more, I suppose there's more, isn't there, to performance than just...
I was just going to say that. So there's the wellbeing angle to it as well. So, for example, making sure they've taken holidays.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because it's an ideal opportunity if you're meeting once a quarter, say, to check that they've got holidays booked or that, they're planning something.
I have seen in some companies' performance, the annual appraisal, is to have like a wellbeing objective for the year.
Yeah.
Right.
To incorporate, it's not all about the job, it's what you're doing
externally.
Yeah. What would your wellbeing objective be?
Oh, I don't know.
Another holiday,
holidays.
maybe.
Another holiday. Do some more yoga.
Well, some people do wellbeing days, don't they?
Yeah.
They do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll think about some ideas. But I think just going back to, I suppose, performance overall, we said before, there's lots of things that affect performance.
Yeah.
And actually, well-being is one of them.
Yes.
Things at home, things outside of work.
Life.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, one of the things I always say to people is if you've got a problem and it's not like them,
raise it.
ask them about it. That's
If
not
it's
normal
out
for
of
you.
the ordinary,
It's not normal. Is there something going on? Are you okay?
Yeah, don't wait for the annual, performance review.
No.
Speak to them.
Yeah.
Bring it up.
So actually, if we think then about the process for managing performance, it's probably that almost that informal
Ongoing,
stage to start with, isn't it? So
Yeah.
we've got the ongoing normal stuff, but then we've got the if you've got to put somebody who's underperforming, shall we say, then I suppose the first thing is a conversation.
Yeah.
It's an informal.
And identifying whether it's a can't do or a won't do.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Because people talk, again, I've had a conversation the last week where we've talked very much about a PIP, a performance improvement plan.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't have to give it a name.
No.
Because that feels, people go, oh, I'm on a PIP.
Yeah.
So, but actually you can be, your performance can be improved without a formal plan even.
Yeah.
So it's good again from that documentation perspective. But for me, it's always about that informal conversation. Do they know what's expected of them? Make sure they've got everything they need. Is there anything bothering them outside of work? I mean, goodness, it could be outside of work, but it could be in work as well.
Yeah. Do they need any adjustments? Or,
Has there been any changes that people are struggling with? Is there, a new system that actually isn't working very well because it's going offline every hour?
Yeah.
What is it? So I think it's important to have that two-way conversation. It's not about us saying, you're a bit rubbish, you need to be better. It's about saying, look, this isn't going so well. How do we work together? And I think, again, we probably miss the point in performance management in that the aim of performance management is not to exit somebody from the company. The aim is to improve performance.
Yeah.
To retain them.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because, recruitment is expensive.
It is.
Yeah.
And finding the right
difficult as well.
people, it is difficult. And, we talked before about fit. So especially if we want to get the right person, it's so much easier to invest in the time to improve somebody's performance.
Yes.
If it's clear that they're not going to perform,
yeah.
then that's a different conversation. But I think, like I say, I think it's good to manage the good performance, but then from the underperformance, for me, it's having that informal conversation first, but then building on that.
Yeah.
I've seen examples where people they don't give anything. Say, well, what is it? Nothing. I'm fine. I'm fine.
Yeah.
And again, it's not our job to fix them any more than they want to be fixed.
Yeah.
No.
So, but it's our job to help and make sure that
And give them an opportunity to share the information if they wish.
Yeah. I often talk about clear conscience.
Yeah. If you've done everything you can.
Yeah. One of the
that's all you
conversations I
can
had
do.
yesterday afternoon, actually, we talked very much about a clear conscience and what's our responsibility and what's their responsibility as an adult.
Yeah.
We forget actually that we employ adults. It's their responsibility to look after themselves. We will support with that, but we're not their parents.
No.
And again, I've talked a little bit lately as well with some people about the parent-adult-child thing theory, I guess you call it. I'm not sure what the proper name is. You know, that if we treat people like children,
they'll act like
then they'll act like children. You know, if we become their adults, but and the want is to get to that adult status.
Yeah.
You know, so and I think that's it's probably, well, I don't know, maybe because I've been in HR such a long time, maybe I'm a bit more hard to it, but it is it's getting to that adult stage, and there are limits to what we can do, and people have to take responsibility themselves as well. But we have to have a clear conscience. We've done everything that we possibly could do. That's for me. I operate, you know, certainly from an HR perspective. That is one of my own little mantras, if you like, is have I got a clear conscience about this?
Yeah.
Have I done everything that I could have done to make it work?
Have we supported them and offer support?
Yeah.
And if we've done everything we can, ultimately it's on them.
It is, yeah. There's limits to what we can do. What have you used, Zoe, in practice on terms of length of so if we've done the informal stage, then we go to formal. What do you think is a reasonable time frame for managing somebody?
Probably about 4 weeks.
Yeah?
Yeah, give an
Goodness,
opportunity.
that's short.
Yeah.
I was thinking like a few months.
Give them an opportunity to see improvement.
Yeah.
So see, given
Well,
the
it can
initial
be an ongoing
improvement.
thing, can't it? But if
Yeah.
you're not seeing
check in
some
in 4 weeks.
Yeah. So that initial, that first step in 4 weeks. Yeah. So actually, in terms of that, then it would be because again, I think a lot of companies have either a performance management or capability policy.
Yeah.
Now, if you ask a lawyer, they will say that's absolutely the right way.
Yeah.
I've actually never really operated like that because you can use a disciplinary procedure as well. So disciplinary, as we said before, is often for conduct,
Yes.
but it can be used for capability. It's essentially the same process.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a more technical HR point. But so actually what we're doing is we're having that informal process where we say to somebody, this ain't going very well. We need to see some improvements. We'll talk to you again in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
This is what we want to see. We might document that in writing, even by email, so something less formal, or maybe by letter.
Yeah.
But then at that point, we're as similar as we would be with disciplinary, we'd be saying to them, if we don't see improvements,
Yes.
we will be inviting you to a formal meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then that's when the formal process starts. And really, up until that point, their job's not in jeopardy.
No.
We're just asking them to improve.
Yeah.
But once they go into the formal process,
Yeah.
that's where it becomes more likely
serious.
that
There
they're
is
going to
a-
be exited from the business.
There's a deadline on
Yes,
there. Yeah.
there is, yeah. So, but so for me, I would usually see several steps in terms of, like, say, the informal, and then we would have maybe a month for the first stage where we say, right, this is we've done the informal, nothing's improved. Let's talk to you again. Let's set some real strict objectives, and again, being very clear about what the expectations are, and those smart objectives in terms of specific, measurable, achievable. So that, you know, not just these sky high things because we want somebody out. You know, realistic and time bound.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I put myself off then because I'm like trying to remember all the letters. But yeah, so making sure that people know exactly what's expected of them and exactly what the timeline is. But when we get to that timeline, we can really measure it.
Yeah.
Because again, what I've seen is that people say, we just need you to be a bit better.
But what
But what does that mean?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Yeah.
And how do we measure that? And if they're not a bit better, how do we prove they're not better? Because they're a little bit better, they're just not better enough. It's, you know.
Yeah.
So probably 4 weeks then for the first stage.
Yeah.
And then I would say maybe another 4 after
week,
that, and maybe do monthly intervals.
Yeah.
So in theory, if we've got in the formal process maybe a first warning, a second warning, or improvement notice, sometimes they're called. But then by the time you get to the third, that's probably where they're going to be at risk of losing their job.
Yeah.
Now, in my career of 20 plus years, I would say I've taken very few people to that final stage because more often than not, once you get in the first and second stage, they go and find another job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or they go off sick sometimes.
Yeah. Or they improve.
Or they improve,
Because they're
absolutely.
getting the time and the resource that they need
Yeah.
to actually make that improvement.
Yeah. And I suppose when we talk about the reasons as well, that whether we use the formal process or not might depend on the reasons. So if somebody is suffering with ill health, we wouldn't necessarily take them into formal performance management. It would very much depend on the circumstances. But if it's the ill health that's affecting the performance, that would be a bit tricky. So again, disability discrimination potentially. So it, you know, again, there's not really a one size fits all, but you've got to take into account the circumstances.
And obviously that goes back to treating employees as individuals. Everyone is different.
Yeah.
Well, what's worked for that one before
Yeah.
might not work again for this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
There's also generational differences as well,
Massive,
isn't
yeah.
there? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because each generation has their own
Quirks.
way of working, I was going to say. But we can use quirks.
Yeah. I suppose it's working to a reasonable level,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, not everybody has to be stars.
No.
Yeah.
If you've got a team like that, great. But
Yeah.
the chance are, if you've got a team like that, they're going to be scrabbling at the top.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
And you'll have nobody doing the stuff at the bottom.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, everybody who's wanting to move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
So in an ideal workforce, you've got different levels of capability and different
Yeah.
levels of desire maybe
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the career.
It's okay. So what about managers? So in those businesses where they have that additional layer of a line manager, what about supporting them? How do we support them to have those conversations, which can either be very, very difficult conversations or really, really good conversations, and they can be equally as difficult.
Yeah.
Particularly if, you know, there may be a conflict between manager and employee.
Yeah. I think, I don't think there's a one size fits all for that. I think that we've got some strategies, but I've actually done training, you know, performance management training with groups of managers from different businesses. And you can kind of give people the theory behind it. Everything we've talked about in terms of setting expectations and asking if everything's okay and is there anything that they need. But how you actually phrase it is probably, it takes a bit of experience.
It does, yeah.
So I would suggest that if it's a new manager, somebody who hasn't done it before, then they probably need a bit of support from somebody like us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a mentor within the
Yeah.
business.
Yeah. Somebody
Different
who just
manager.
gives them a bit of, you know, just a bit of coaching almost.
Yeah.
But if it's somebody who's more experienced, then they will maybe know more how to handle
Yeah.
it. But again, knowing your people,
Yeah.
I think
know
it
what they
is,
respond to.
especially if you've got any neurodiverse employees, about having that awareness of
Yeah.
that condition and
It's knowing your people,
Yeah,
isn't
knowing
it?
your people.
Yeah. I was going to say, we keep coming back to the same things.
Yeah.
It's setting expectations, knowing your people,
People.
being reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not rocket science, and
No.
it doesn't sound like rocket science. Easy for us to say that, but it's difficult when you just want to get on with your business and deliver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That-
And I
that's-
think doing it from day one, you know,
Yeah.
telling managers to do it from day one.
Yeah.
So they're not sitting there 5 months in
Yeah.
thinking this employee's not
Yeah.
going to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can we do?
Yeah. I think you're absolutely
Yeah.
right, because I think with most of the businesses that I've worked in and you know, work with now, they're too busy getting somebody in because they need them to help
Yeah.
because the business is growing or,
Yeah.
or replacing
Yeah.
somebody or whatever.
Yeah.
But we don't always give enough weight, like you say,
Yeah.
to that
Yeah.
right from day one. Is it working out, and should we
Yeah.
be nipping anything in the bud,
Yeah.
or making sure they guide them in the right direction?
Yeah.
Somebody I was talking to in the last week said, actually, this person is disposing of paperwork that they shouldn't be, but it's taken us 3 weeks to pick it up.
Yeah.
So they've had to go back through all their paperwork and try and figure out what's missing,
Yeah.
and that's, you know, a challenge. So
And understand why they thought that was what they needed to do.
yeah. So I did have that conversation because they thought
I think it, you know, comes down to training, doesn't it, with,
Yeah.
with managers? You know, if you tell them why we need it from day one,
Yeah.
so then they know the process.
Yeah.
And then they can understand the consequences
Mm-hmm.
if we're sitting there on month 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting what we were saying before as well about the welcome, because
Yeah.
we've been working on a project recently, haven't we, with a company to give their people a really robust welcome into the business.
Yeah.
And the aim of that is to give them the best chance of success, so they
Yeah.
can come into the business, get all of the information they need from day one,
Yeah.
have a really good understanding about the business, how everything works, and it's more efficient actually. It
It
cuts
is,
down
Yeah.
the time where people are just trying
Yeah.
to feel their way.
Yeah.
So
And could you spread the onus of training throughout the company rather than just all of it falling on one line manager? So
Yeah.
potentially go back to what people's aspirations were. Say they wanted to become an expert in a particular piece of software that the company uses.
yeah.
There may be the
The
training.
person,
Yeah.
absolutely, as long
For
as they
new
don't ask for more money
starters.
for doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well,
I'm joking. They say, I'm
not?
training people now. I'd like
Yeah.
an extra 10 pence an hour, please.
well, if it's recognised that they're doing
Yeah,
a
I was
good
going to
job.
say,
Yeah.
it's slightly
It's about having
tongue-in-cheek,
champions,
yeah.
isn't it?
It is. But no, you're quite right. Is that it is a good opportunity for people. And
Yeah.
actually, this
Yeah.
onboarding project we've been working on, that's exactly what we've
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Is that we've basically taken every department. We'll deliver the company bit, but actually all of the other functions deliver their own because they give the detail. They're the expert.
Yeah.
We don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And the line manager hasn't got time. They need to run the department.
Yeah.
So actually the new person will come away from the line manager for a day or two, go through all of that, and then we'll give them back to the line manager and go, right, you do all the role stuff.
Yeah.
So that's that really helps, and we're just starting to implement that, and you know, sort of tweaking it as we go along. But it's certainly better than it has been in this particular place. So.
Yeah. So, what do we think the key takeaways are then?
I think act swiftly.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So right from day one, but as soon as there's an issue, address it.
I think for me is knowing what good performance is. You know, working
within your company and having that information available through
expectations
to all of the line managers.
So the measure, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's nice and clear. Everyone knows what is expected of them.
Yeah, I think that, and I think be specific.
Yeah.
So just saying you just need to be better isn't good enough.
No.
You've got to be specific and actually give specific examples of what's not going well. Or you're just not really cutting the mustard.
You're okay here, but this could be a bit better.
Yeah,
what does that mean?
Yeah, it was actually, you say, well, actually, you rang that customer. I heard the way you spoke to them. This is how you should have done it. So it's very specific. Someone goes, oh, right, okay, yeah, I get that. You know, because some of the time, like you say, just saying you just need to be a bit better. We've got to be fair to the employees as well. It's a two-way street. We've got to be fair to everybody.
I think it's that balance, isn't it, of overcorrecting versus being under-supportive.
Yeah, you're quite right, So, and the other thing, when we haven't talked much about exits. And actually that's...
Do we want to?
Well, no, because hopefully we won't get to that point.
Yeah.
So, but if we did get to that point, I think there's some people who would give notice to a person for underperformance, but then still expect them to work their notice period.
Yeah.
And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But it's a very mixed message.
Yes.
Very mixed message. So, you know, you're not good enough, but we'd like to keep you for another month.
Just while we recruit for somebody else to replace you.
Yeah. So that's probably for me a takeaway in terms of words of warning.
Yes.
Think strategically about that.
Yeah.
In fact, I know I keep going on about conversations I've had. I did have a conversation yesterday. I spoke to a lot of people yesterday. And actually we were talking about just that.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, he said, but I need him.
Yeah.
And I said, but actually, if this is the mistake he's made,
then you don't need him.
Is it going to cost the business more to have him in than it is not?
Yeah.
So, and he's thinking about
that.
And
I think as well is how you look at the annual appraisal.
Yeah.
Because I've seen in some companies, annual appraisal, so we say it's in February.
Yeah.
So then employees may start performing a bit better in January because they know it's coming.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, if you tweak the system and, you know...
And more regular...
check-ins and
exactly.
monitoring performance.
And also it means then as well, you're not trying to remember from an employee's perspective
what they've done.
You're not trying to remember whether you've achieved a goal that was set in January, one that was set in March, and then one that was set in July, and you're meeting in December.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it is. It's a difficult one. So another key takeaway is review performance.
Is
it working? Good and bad.
Yeah.
You know, it's always bad. You know, if you're in the great position of having everybody who's performing good, really well, or even reasonably, as long as they're meeting the minimum requirements, whatever that is, then, you know, great, but you should still be talking to them about it. Because we often see people leave businesses for development.
Yeah.
Often.
Yeah.
You say, I'm going there because I'll get that qualification or I'll get a bit more or I'm not really got the opportunity
to grow.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah, so that actually is, you know, that's where the risk is with the good performers. You know, is that if you don't talk to them and make sure we're giving them everything they need in terms of development, be it within the boundaries of the company, of course, they'll just go and find it somewhere else. And then you've lost that person. So yeah.
So thank you for joining us. If you want more information, you can visit our website, which is dawsonhr.co.uk, to see how we can support you. Thank you very much.